Good evening and hello to everyone. Today, as we promise on Canard TV, the Arab voice from Canada, trying to interview some of the candidates for municipal election in Ontario. Municipal election is one of the most important election we have to participate in because most of our services from governments in Canada are received by the municipal governments. Election is coming soon, October this year, but we need to know more about the candidates. The election in the city of Ottawa, the capital, the federal capital of Canada, is very important this year because many of current councillors are not running back to this election, the mayor too. So we are meeting some of these brave candidates. I say brave because they're putting their names in the ballots and trying to put their ideas forward to make our city better. One of these candidates is a friend, Aria Alavi. Hi, Aria.
Hi, how are you, Dr. Jamal?
Great to see you today.
Good to see you too.
First, thank you for accepting my invitation to interview you. We will introduce generally the election of municipal election. We will speak about yourself and your views about many issues in the city of Ottawa. So thank you again.
Sure, thanks a lot. Nice to be here.
So Aria, can you please start with introducing yourself to the public? Who is Aria? Your ethnic backgrounds, where were you born? How long you've been in Ottawa, etc. Please.
Sure. My name is Aria Alavi, and as you know, I'm running for Ward 10, Gloucester-Southgate Councillor in Ottawa. Originally, I'm Persian. I'm from Iran, and I live in Canada for more than 21 years. And I live all across Canada, actually. But initially, I went to University of Ottawa for my poli-sci degree. And my education background is I have a poli-sci degree and I have an MA degree in journalism studies. And I'm also a licensed paralegal by the Law Society of Upper Canada, which recently in the last few years changed to the Law Society of Ontario. And I'm running because, there are too many issues at this point. There are outstanding issues in the city of Ottawa, specifically in my ward. We had a councillor in office for 28 plus years. And even 18, 19 years ago when I was going to University of Ottawa, I see some of the issues that are still outstanding after 18, 19 years. Hasn't been changed. I can go into the detail later on, but my background and my political involvement with for the last 20 years, I thought it equipped me with enough experience to just enter the race, and then I can move on. I can discuss more about my plans.
Sure. It's very important to know why you are running for this post because usually, frankly saying, it's not the best paid positions. However, it's under the spot always. People looking to have more transparency in these posts like federal, provincial, and municipal. But municipal, for me, it's the most important, as we know. Can you elaborate on this? Why do you think that people usually people don't go vote in these elections? So why we need to encourage them to go and vote?
Okay, because if you look at the three level of government, actually municipal government is one of the most involved issues that we have with the residents. Basically, if you look at issues like transit, for example, daycare, roads, community housing, like parks, recreations, youth, they all fall into the basically the city government, the city hall. And it's very important that the people, they go out and actually vote, because what happens is I hear from a lot of residents in the ward that the issues the very simple one, like transit and daycares, there are still nothing has been drastically changed. The transit is still in a very worse state. the long wait list for subsidized daycares. Everybody's complaining right now. So these two itself are enough for people to go out and vote, because we need councillors. They have a specific, progressive, well-calculated plan for the city. That's what I think was missing in the city of Ottawa for the last 2 decades at least.
Mm-hmm.
So I always tell people, go out and vote.
Great. Yes, this is very important, and that's why we're doing these programs to encourage people to go and vote. So, Aria, let's speak about the ward itself. Ward 10, who was the councillor, and why do you think she or he is not running again?
Okay. The Ward 10 councillor, well, the councillor that is not running again, her name is Diane Deans, and she has been there for almost 28 years. And she has stated back a few months ago that she wants to run to become a mayor of Ottawa. And almost last month, she gave us a statement to the media that she doesn't want to be a mayor and she doesn't want to run for the city councillor. I don't know about her reasons why not running again, but for me, if somebody been there for 28 plus years and I see too many complaints in a ward, I think it probably is time for change. And that's her personal choice. She decides not to run, and that's why we are here today. And actually, this is happening in different wards in Ottawa. But Diane Deans, I think she was one of the rare longest-serving councillors in the city of Ottawa.
She also, I think, had some health issues previously, yes?
Pardon?
Health issues.
Yes, she does. She has health issues, according to her statement. It seems she was recovering, and I wish her a speed recovery and in a good health state for her, but that's what we are here today.
We wish her always all the best. So, Aria, let's speak about your decision of running. I know there's family, friends involved in this decision. Sometimes yourself thinking about this. For how many years you've been preparing yourself or thinking about running, or it's became like just in the last year or year and a half? Is there a situation that make you to think about it?
Well, I mean, as I said, in past I was involved with the Liberal Party. I was involved in a different riding associations. I was working closely with lots of MPs and MPPs. I involved in a lot of campaigns by myself. Mm-hmm. And but the main reason that I decided to run, because I have a lot of clients in Ward 10 for issues like landlord tenant issues and issues within a community housing projects. So in the last 8-9 months, I saw I talked with them and they told me, you know what, nothing was changed and maybe we need somebody like you to come and to implement that. So honestly, some of the very basic things, like it was ignored in a ward for a long time, like basic repairs, basic renovations in certain community housing, things like that. And I had a very, I had the conversation with not only my family and my friend, but with some of the current MPPs and some of the current MPs of in office, and they all encouraged me. I have to run. They told me, you know the job. You have good understanding about issues facing the city of Ottawa and my ward itself, and that was I decided to move to run for this election.
We wish you all the best, man.
Sure.
Let's speak about these issues. I think the most and the most obvious issue is the transportation. Transportation, it's been on the spot for a long time, since 2016-17 after the LRT, but recently was the main issue, I think, for a lot of city councillors. So what do you think about the LRT problems in general and the transportation in LRT in particular, and the transportation of the city of Ottawa? I think we are big enough to have a real reliable transportation system.
That's right. So it's a very good question. Actually, I think this is the main issue facing this election. I mean, in all the wards in Ottawa, I think because I can see like everybody asking the same question. I tell you what the problem with LRT is and where I'm standing off today. Okay, when the city of Ottawa, I'm going to give you a very short overview. The city of Ottawa gave $2 billion project to the third-party contractor to build the LRT, okay? Once you give this contract to this magnitude, you must make sure, legally speaking, you hold the third party accountable. And that's what happened in this case. The city gave the $2 billion contract. They didn't put any legal, meaningful mechanics to hold them accountable. The third party built LRT with too many issues. And we are at the point that the provincial government, who was partnered with the project, they said we are not going to give money anymore unless the public inquiry goes on. We found out what happened with this company and why there are too many issues in less than like since they were built. Like in the frequency was every like 3 to 4 weeks the LRT had issues. So that's the main issue with LRT. The city of Ottawa, they didn't have a leadership at place. And I mean, frankly, I'm shocked because I know some of the councillors, they have good legal knowledge, background legal knowledge. And I'm shocked they gave contract to the company that, I mean, today they don't have any accountability. They don't have any transparency, and they left us with the public inquiry with the provincial government, actually. So, I mean, that was the main issue with LRT. I'm going to give you the opposite example. For example, if you look at Toronto, for example, you don't see that in Toronto happen because the Toronto City Council, they have a very strong legal team in place. And although they have the TTC has lots of issues, but they didn't get to the point that we are with LRT in Ottawa. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that was the main reason behind the LRT issues. And that's why we have multiple delays, canceled trains, issues with tracks, and it's ironic that we have one of the highest fares in not only in country, and I have to say in the world, for the services that we don't get from the city.
Yeah. So, do you think where you stand now? What is your vision for transportation in Ottawa?
Okay, I have. Okay, that's a very good question. Let me tell you something. I think any contract given for this further moving on, because at some point the provincial and federal government come back, they're going to invest more into the project. So we need a strong legal negotiations. Make sure to hold whoever get the contract accountable, and they pay the penalty by themselves. That's the most first important thing. The second important thing, I mean, I'm always for expansion of LRT. For example, the debate I have with a lot of people about the Bank Street LRT in future, I'm absolutely for that. Bank Street is congested, is very busy, and it really needs LRT, okay? But I don't want that we are going to have another project like this project that we are going to left us with multiple issues down the road. I want to make sure that this project they build properly, and I am for that to reducing the fares for the residents of Ottawa, because A, they didn't get the services they deserve, and B, we are at the point that everybody is talking about free transit, which I mean is not really doable, but reducing fare is something that the city can work on, and I'm supporting that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, yeah, well, when you think about this as a family and you want to go, for example, for a cup of coffee with your family to the downtown area, it means $16 to go and $16 back, which is $32 just to grab something in downtown and enjoy the view of the parliament or whatever. It's really too much. It doesn't cost you that much driving. So usually you think, why have to get the transport? So it is an issue. Maybe pricing is issue. Availability is an issue. And as you said, the city of Ottawa is developing very fast. Like you see building all over, mm-hmm. and it's starting to grow. So we need something reliable. I know it's a very important issue. I don't know if you want to add something on this point before we go to the next one, which is very close, the street and the traffic.
Yeah, no, I think we covered the most basic areas, and my plans is very crystal clear for transit. So yeah, we can move to the next segment if you want.
So streets are very important in Ottawa, as it's part of the transportation system. We see that some streets are very narrow. Like example, we say the airport one, it's one lane. If there's an accident, it means that hundreds of people will delay on their flights. It doesn't make sense. Like, this is a main road and you make it one lane, go one way back. So it doesn't make sense. So where do you see our streets going? We have a lot of holes, a lot of very bad, well constructed. I would not compare it to another provinces, you know which one, but still it's the capital. So where do you see improvement in this?
Okay. Actually, in my platform, I think that one of the major things I put in my platform is, let's just start with potholes. Okay. It's beyond my comprehension that how many potholes we have in Ottawa as a capital nation of the country. And that's the potholes issues. I mean, especially in our ward, the situation is beyond worse in Ward 10. I talk with seniors, with youths, with regular drivers, with pedestrians. They say when they're gonna fix that. Okay. So that's the immediate thing. If I get elected, I'm gonna push for potholes to be fixed. Okay. But like, to the broader concept of what's going to happen is this one. Okay, we had a city council for the last 2 decades. They didn't really believe in expansions of roads and highways and investing more into that. I can't speak why they didn't have that, but they didn't believe in that. It seems they didn't, because the city of Ottawa budget is very clear on a breakdown, and they didn't really invest on those issues at all. Okay. What I want to see down the road is 2 immediate things. A, it's going to be the potholes to be fixed. And B, we need the expansion of certain narrow roads, certain highways, because the population grows, like the city expanding, as you said. And this can be done on a rotational schedule that doesn't really affect all the residents at the same time. But this is something that has to be done. But like on opposite, we have seen this city council, they gave money like in past to the Porsche dealer, for example. They didn't invest any money in green spaces. I mean, this is a policy views that they didn't have. And basically I'm here to champion for opposite of that for the residents of Ottawa.
Sounds good. So our next issue is housing and zoning. This was an issue for years. We know that the city is growing, but the limitation of zoning and the way the law was constructed, it just to stop small people to build the dream homes and keep the big companies to build wherever development they would like. Again, zoning is an issue because we don't have enough houses in the city of Ottawa. People are immigrating, coming from bigger cities to Ottawa. So where do you stand on this issue?
Okay. Sure. Okay. I mean, I think the issues of zoning, housing, and affordability, they're all connected to each other, are like in different ways. So let me start by saying this one. One of the things I propose in my platform is 4 rounds of mandatory meeting with 20% of residents of any ward once the application of the developer submitted for building a new things. We have to have a support of the residents of our ward once something wants to be built. And this actually is missing here. Okay. But on a broader scope is this one. The city, like most of the municipalities in Canada, they have very outdated zoning laws, and the developers, they are using those zoning applications very easily on their own favors. Okay. And the bylaw has to be changed regarding zoning. I know some of the major cities in Canada, they are doing that. Toronto did that a few years ago. Vancouver did that a few years ago. They brought a new thing which is going to be favor the residents more than the developers in regard to the zoning issues. But on a broader scope about the housing and affordability, that's a core plan of my platform. Because in the last 2.5, 3 months, everybody in Wharton, they were talking about me about affordable housing. What is missing here is this one. We have developers who got permits from City of Ottawa to build the development without giving any guarantee to the City of Ottawa Council that to the X amount of units, they are going to build more affordably housing. They didn't give that assurance to the city. That's why I'm going to push for that. And we have that in major cities all across Canada, and it's a missing component in Ottawa right now. Okay, that's the thing, because with the skyrocketing amount of rents and housing prices, with outdated zoning laws, the only people who benefit is bunch of developers with the multi-billion-dollar assets they have. They can go out and in Wharton, we are at the situation, I really need to mention this right now. There is a developer, they bought 2 different buildings. One's a complex close to the Parkway Airport and the one close to the Heron Gates Plaza. The moment they bought the old rental building, they gave notices to residents that they're going to do the massive renovation. They submitted the application to the landlord tenant for AGI on a justification that the building is too old. Honestly, I've been in those 2 buildings, they didn't need a massive renovation. Okay. And they use that techniques to increase rent to the level that people on ODSP and OW, they cannot afford that. But the long-term plan for those developers is when they're going to demolish the building, they're going to build a new multi-complex residential commercial site, and they're going to rent it with the astronomical number. So that's why we didn't have city councillors to oppose that. And I'm at the point that I have some of the clients from those 2 complexes, they brought me multiple eviction notices, and they says, what we are going to do, I can't afford living there anymore. Yep.
And sadly, it's not affordable.
It's not affordable, yeah.
It's very hard. It's very hard for people to rent now, not speaking about buying, even to rent. And especially in the last 2 years, we didn't have these numbers. Like you could rent for 1,000, 1,200. Now it's mostly impossible. Yeah.
Yes.
So the next one is environment. Environment is very important because we are not speaking about today. We're speaking about the future. We're speaking about our children. So I don't know if this is a big issue in Ottawa, but where do you stand on this issue?
Okay, that's a very good question, because especially Wharton, my ward, it has a lot of green spaces, a lot. I think it has one of the most green spaces than any other wards in Ottawa, like at least like one of the largest one. What I'm standing is this one. Like I read the City of Ottawa budget regarding the environment. Okay, and I'm not gonna say sad. I think it's inexcusable that the budget didn't attribute enough funding to invest into the environment and green spaces. I'll give you an example. The green spaces in my ward, they have absolutely zero maintenance services, to the point that I talk with residents in a ward. They says we don't go to park anymore because parks are dangerous. There are holes there. They are not cleaning at all. We can't see when we walk. Okay, well, this is completely unacceptable from City of Ottawa. My plan is I'm going to attribute more, and actually the budget has a ton of room for that, to attribute more budget to the green spaces than to certain services. Like, I'm going to give you an example I said to residents yesterday, such as Ottawa Police Service. Because I'm all for the safety, because this is my line of work. I represent people in a court. But the Police Act itself has mechanism for saving a budget, either through the hiring freeze or through certain things, without impacting city that much. But what the City of Ottawa does, it just gives billions of dollars to those services, and absolutely zero investment into the green spaces. I'm going to change that. Once it's going for a budget debate, I'm going to push for more funding for the green spaces. than to other certain services that are like a least priority than environment. And we need to leave a greener space for our children and grandchildren. Okay, environment is not hoax, is not fake. We need to invest on that, and that's 100% for that if I get elected.
Thank you for that. Money, taxes. This is one of the most important issue for many people. Every year we see raises in taxes. We see less services. At the same time, prices are rising. People having the same salaries. So we start thinking where to pay these taxes from. Do we have to steal, or we have to do triple works? So it's became an issue for many people. Where do you stand on the tax, especially raising taxes?
No, actually, I'm 100% against raising taxes. And I tell you why. Because with the soaring prices of commodities, a skyrocketing amount of rent, and purchasing is out of hand anymore, I'm 100% against raising taxes. What I can see the city of Ottawa does is this one. They are going to reduce tax for like 2 to 3 years framework, whether it's going to be on a rebate program or whether it's going to be freezing for a while. Like as they did the rent freeze during COVID, they can do that with the taxes as well. And a city needs to implement and inject the savings to different services and housings and community housing and affordable housing at the same time when they do that. Because what the city of Ottawa did, I'm going to give you an example. They had a $350 million deficit. The provincial and federal government came out and they bailed them out. On how many times those two levels of government are going to do that? They're not going to do that constantly if we don't manage the budget. The first thing is to control taxes. I'm for reducing that for a specific time frame, and then from there we can see whether the budget is on surplus or is on deficit or where the budget stands for. And then from there, we can see if it is needed to increase or not. I don't have any reason right now to see why taxes has to go up, especially with the soaring prices of commodities. And let me tell you something, one thing very moved me a few weeks ago. I was at the food basic in my ward, and residents outside the food basic, they were talking to me that when they go shopping, they can only pick like 1 or 2 from each commodities they need. It really moved me. It's really, it's because I come from a very working class, they used living in housing for many years. I understand these people stand for, okay? And we shouldn't be like this in a capital city of nation. The city of Ottawa can attribute multiple program and funding to tackle these issues without raising taxes at this time.
Yeah, next issue is businesses. Small businesses are the core issue recently because we see many suffered after COVID. Inflation also make it harder for new businesses, especially small ones. Finding employees, and all these issues making them closing their doors. What do you think you can do to support small businesses, especially in the city of Ottawa?
The city, okay, that's a very good question. First off, it's very sad that most of the time we walk in different parts of city, not only my ward. We see businesses used to be operational 20, 25, 30, 40 years. They suddenly close down because they can't survive. What I think the city of Ottawa has to do is to start a grant program for small businesses. And I'm not sure why they didn't do that, or if they did that, it wasn't enough for the businesses because they're closing off. They need to have a grant program, and they need to negotiate a rent control for commercial spaces for a specific period of time. That will help business and encourage them with more tax breaks, with more rebates to hire more employees in order the businesses stay in operation. And all of these things are missing right now as we are talking. As again, this is a policy view. The current city council, they didn't believe in that. I see them as a more like a right-wing ideology that they only wanted to help certain groups like developers and Porsche dealers and things like that. And in my opinion, that can easily change through the grant program, rebate program, rent control for commercial spaces in order to keep the small businesses in power, and operation.
It is important. Thank you. We are on unceded and surrounded Algonquin and Anishinaabe people's territories. So the indigenous people are present in our city, and sadly, we do not see this issue is always as an issue in the municipal election. Do you have any stand or thinking about how to be more friendly with these people, do something like to let people know about the issue of indigenous people, murdered children, and all these issues we've seen now, and people talking about? Where do you stand on the indigenous issues?
That's a very good question. I tell you something. 2 months ago, I was meeting this indigenous group. They had issues with a specific housing project, and I talked with all of them. And my talk was only like 10 minutes, but they went through these issues with children, the Pope visit to Canada, and I just listened to them for like almost 3 hours. Okay. What I told them, we need to do two things. I told them they have to involve more into the city politics. They have to come and to be heard. But most importantly, what I told them, if I get elected, I'm going to bring a motion to the city council that we need to form a committee to hear their concerns, whether it's going to be on every quarter basis or every 2 months. The frequency can be discussed later on. They come, they talk with us, and we see what kind of programs we can develop for them in the city level to help them with multiple issues. We are at the point that these people, they don't communicate with most of the residents I'm not only in Ottawa, I would say in Canada right now, and I totally understand them. They are mad. They have lots of scars on them from past, and they don't trust us anymore. Rebuilding a trust with them, it starts with the city hall, and that's what one of my core plans to introduce that with them. And it was my honor. I did a small project for them 2 months ago on a legal basis, and I told them, I gave them assurance, I'm gonna help them in any way possible. But that's the first thing we need to do in the city council. Yep. And that's what I'm gonna push for it.
Thank you. My last questions, it's not the least issue in Ottawa, but will be the last questions for today, is the affordability and poverty. We've seen this issue is rising, especially after COVID. People can't afford food. You've already tackled a little bit on this, but I need more elaboration on what do you think the city can do to stop this, as we know that city of Ottawa is one of the most balanced city used to be, but recently we've seen a lot of poverty and people can't afford food. So where do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. The poverty. Okay. Let me because we briefly touched on that, the issues of soaring prices and things like that. But what I think the city of Ottawa has to do, they have to introduce, at least at this time that the inflation is very high, they have to introduce some form of subsidy program, okay, for necessities, for commodities that are constituted as necessities, okay? We need that in a city of Ottawa actually immediately right now, okay? We need this subsidized program. I do have some ideas how to be implemented, but again, this is something they need to do that. That's the first thing, that the people, they can go out, they do the basic groceries, providing the basic necessities of life. On top, the rent can be freeze. I don't see any reason why not the city don't push for that. But more importantly, we need a leadership in a city that asks the federal and provincial government to provide more funding to residents who are struggling based on the income level to go through this process. Because according to federal government, the inflation is going to be at least another 18 months on the corner. We can't just leave the residents of Ottawa alone and say, you know what, struggle by yourself. We need programs to help them to reduce that thing substantially. And on top, as I said, we have to give grant to small businesses, encourage to hire employees with higher wages in order we can have a balance, at least some form of balance system in place until the inflation drop. Because last week I was telling somebody the issue of poverty is not on a commodity side. The issue of poverty is directly linked with crime and homelessness in the city. It's not only that the people, they can afford that. Once they can afford that, statistically, they have no choice to commit other things. Yeah. That's a plan the city has to be implemented. And let me tell you something. Unfortunately, major cities in Canada, they don't have the subsidized programs to help residents, but I don't see any way why we can't have them in Ottawa.
Sure. So there are many issues, and the time is running fast. But thank you for being with us today. Before we leave, I would like to introduce your website to the audience. So if you would like to talk, where do you think people can help, support? The website is on the screen. It's ariaalavi.ca. So you can go to that website and see more. But firstly, you have the mic now to speak about it.
Sure. I mean, my website, I covered my core platform, and I always ask people, I'm always like to have help from people who like, whether they're volunteer, they like to donate. My website, there is a place for contact me. They can send me, and I can tell them what they can, in which ways they can help me with that. But the most important thing, I ask people to tell their neighbors, friends in the ward, they go out and vote for me, because I'm the only candidate in a race that has a most progressive platform for the ward. And I'm the only candidate in a race that has imposed 2-term limit on himself, because I don't believe we need a councillor in office for 20, 25 years. If I don't deliver my promises to you in 4 or 8 years, I wouldn't do that in 25 plus years. I'm committed to deliver my plans, and I ask anyone who wants to help to send me a quick note, and I tell them like in which ways they can. But the most important is they go out and they vote for me. And again, 2-term limit is my solemn promise to the residents of Ward 10.
So can you tell us about the election day, when it is, and what do you tell people at that day to do?
Sure. The election is October 24th. We have advanced poll on last week of September as well, and the city of Ottawa will update more information after September 1st. And usually there are a bunch of places in my ward, there are community centers or a specific designated location they can go and vote. And if they need any ride on a voting day, they can always contact me through my website, and I will arrange a ride for them to go to the polling station.
Aria Alavi, thank you very much for giving us this time to introduce yourself, your platform to our audience. It's a pleasure, and I hope we wish you all the best. We hope that you will be in a spot that you can deliver everything you promised. This is the hardest time to deliver what you promised, and I believe in you and your word. So we wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Jamal, for having me in this program. It was nice talking to you.
So our audience, thank you very much for your time. And if you would like to support Aria, we put his website again on the screen, and you can go there and just click on contact or get in touch, and you will hear back from Aria himself. And we wish everybody in that ward all the best to elect the best councillor for the next 4 years. See you next week, and wish you all the best.